Hi, I'm Daniel Aaron Dilger in Livermore, California, with the top tech stories of the first week of 2012. For the first week of 2012, AppleInsider produced a series of reports looking inside Apple's 2011, starting with tremendous growth in Mac sales, 6 times faster than the PC industry overall. The installed base has now reached above 58 million, which is only a fifth the size of the iOS population. Apple released a series of new Macs using Intel's Sandy Bridge i5 and i7 chips, but no new Mac Pro, and it canceled the Xserve entirely last year. In a move to make mobiles more expandable, Apple launched the ultra-fast Thunderbolt interconnect on all of its new Macs. A year ago this week, Apple revolutionized software distribution with the Mac App Store, and throughout 2011 converted its Pro apps to downloads. The biggest download for Apple was the release of macOS X Lion, its first reference release to be launched without a box. It also ended Apple's first decade of macOS X development. Outside of the Mac, Apple began selling the new iOS-based Apple TV, for which it released a new update later that year. Steve Jobs also launched iPad 2 at the beginning of the year after noting how the 2010 original had outsold all tablet PCs ever built. Apple also brought FaceTime to the iPad, and alongside iOS 5, introduced Siri Voice Assistant for the new iPhone 4S. Despite increasing health issues, Jobs continued running Apple, publicly appearing with President Obama in the spring, outlining new initiatives including iCloud at WWDC in the summer, and made a city council appearance to outline new plans for an Apple Campus 2. Search AppleInsider for Inside 2011 to review all of our annual recap reports. 2012 also marks the first year of the second decade of 3 Apple initiatives: macOS X, the iPod and iTunes, and Apple Retail. Search AppleInsider for next 10 years to read more about the company's future directions. This week's big news and products: Apple's iMac now makes up a third of the industry's 14.5 million sales of all-in-one PCs, according to Display Search. And a top Google executive, Marissa Mayer, gushed over Apple's airport base station, saying she was really impressed with Apple's easy-to-use software. And in iPhones, Verizon reported doubling its sales to 4.2 million in the holiday quarter, pushing analysts to predict global sales of 30 to 35 million. In the last quarter, Apple sold a record number of iPhones, was criticized for missing analysts' guesses rather than its own far more conservative guidance. In Apple business, the company has reportedly recruited an Adobe executive, Todd Teresi, to run its mobile iAd business. Teresi replaces Andy Miller, who left last August. Apple is also reportedly planning to expand its relationship with retailer Target, with 25 Apple stores within a store this year. In the weeks ahead, CES, the Las Vegas Consumer Electronics Show, comes up next week, promising to show iMacs, MacBook Airs, and iPads from companies other than Apple. There's also reports later in the month of a New York City Apple event focusing on iBooks and publishing, believed to be related to textbooks, iTunes U, and education. On January 24th, Apple will be announcing its holiday quarterly earnings and future guidance. Stay tuned for coverage of the coming week's events at appleinsider.com, and don't forget to share your comments and questions with us via email.